Find yourself in the Beachview area of Pittsburgh? Check out the official pizza of this show, Slice on Broadway, sharing an abnormal obsession with pizza we can relate to. Check them out at sliceonbroadway.com and tell them this show sent you.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dog set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Beating for the taste of the fly.
Hey guys, it's the Indy Mayhem Show, episode 107. I'm Mike Sorg, at Sorgatron on the Twitter. A video producer down here in Pittsburgh, PA, working with the International Wrestling Cartel, Renegade Wrestling Alliance, and other productions, including Finding Zach Gowen over at IndyWrestling.us. My compatriot Eamon is not with us this week. He's had some internet and some other issues. Maybe there's snow in Texas, God forbid. What's going on there. But we got a great guest also from that state coming up here in just one moment. But first, please go check out WrestlingMayhemShow.com for this and other shows. Subscribe to Indy Mayhem Show on all the audio and video formats. And also drop us a line, 412-206-WMS0 is the hotline, or good times at WrestlingMayhemShow.com, where you can drop us a line about interviews coming up if you have any questions, people we should interview, or thoughts in general on the show, indie wrestling we should check out, and anything else your little heart would desire. And of course, we're here live, WrestlingMayhemShow.com, live.WrestlingMayhemShow.com every Tuesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes we have to do the interviews at different times, but we try to get them here in this time slot, 9 p.m. for the regular Wrestling Mayhem Show and whatever else comes along. So let's go back in time to my talk with Shane Taylor. On the line now with the man from Texas. Hey, he used to steamroll over the competition up here in the greater Pittsburgh area. I had the great fortune to film a lot of his career up here in the Steel City, and had some great conversations with him. But now I keep hearing him pop up from our boy Eamon down in Texas, Inspire Pro all over the place. Now popping up in Ring of Honor. Shane Taylor, notorious Shane Taylor, on the line with us from down south. How you doing down there?
Good, brother. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have a chance to catch up with you. Of course, we were just talking about you're not dealing with crazy snow and ice storms like we do up in Pittsburgh anymore. I have to think that's the entire motivation for you to move down south, right?
I mean, of course, that factors in a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm a kid from Cleveland, man, so I'm used to snow and ice and dirty slush and gray skies. So that's what I call home, So honestly, the biggest factor in me deciding to actually move down here to Houston was Ray Rowe. He had been telling me for years, because he had moved down about 4 years prior, and he had been telling me, come down here, man. There's a lot of opportunities down here. There's nobody like you down here. You can really do some big things. And I had gotten to a place back up north where I had wrestled for everybody and done pretty much all I could do. I had reached a plateau from a performing aspect and an ideal aspect. So I decided to just revamp and reinvent myself down here, and it's worked out for the best.
That's awesome. I want to get back to that in a moment and talk about your career even up here in that transition. But first, we like to, we started an indie version of this show because we figure everybody involved, myself, Eamon being our small part in the wrestling industry in the indies. We're here because we're fans of wrestling. So we like to ask, what is your earliest memory of pro wrestling that really kind of caught your attention?
My earliest memory of pro wrestling actually wasn't even in a ring or a match or watching the guys. My dad is good friends with Lee Haney, and so back in the days of the Richfield Coliseum, all the guys would come in and they would go to Gold's Gym. And my dad, being ex-Army, he used to go in there and lift with all these guys. So I have memories of him lifting with the Road Warriors and the all Ultimate Warrior and all these guys. They were just superhumanly big and superhumanly strong. And I remember the impression that they left on me. And I was like, I want to do whatever they do to get that big, so that was my first encounter with that. And then my dad took me to the Ridgefield Coliseum. I'm pretty sure some guys left with some tickets or something. And I remember watching Kerry Von Erich versus the Warlord, and it went to a double count out, and just the place went absolutely bonkers. You had people throwing stuff and all kind of stuff. And it was just like, man, for whatever they do to get that emotion out of people and to have people that invested, and I'm like, that's something that I want to do. That's something that I feel would make me happy, and and the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you go from that, going from the Richfield Coliseum and seeing that to saying, I'm going to get in the ring? Like, where did that come across? Where did you find the opportunities?
After high school and college, I wrestled in high school and college, and I had always wanted to get into pro wrestling, but back then the only thing I knew was like, all right, well, there's the E, and then there's WCW, but at that time I think WCW was just on its way out, and so I was like, okay, how do I get involved? And then I started going with some buddies to some indie shows around the Cleveland and Pittsburgh area, seeing guys like Sterling and Corey Graves, for those that don't know his name before he was in the Fed. And guys like Low Key and Samoa Joe, and of course Ray Rowe and J Rock, and Shima, and just all these guys that are now doing such great things. And I remember going, okay, well, there's obviously another path than going straight, with Vince. So I got a hold of J Rock, and met him at the show in Pennsylvania, or not in Pennsylvania, sorry, but in Painesville, Ohio. It was called New Era Pro Wrestling, run by a guy named Eddie Edwards. Not the American Wolf, another guy. And I was in just talking with him. Got to do some stuff, and was blessed enough that he took a liking to me as well as Ray Rowe, and they kind of just guided me along with them, and I got to see a whole bunch of places and do some really cool stuff.
That's awesome. And of course, I know you came in the picture down here in Pittsburgh area. I know you from the International Wrestling Cartel, Renegade Wrestling Alliances. You had a lot to do with both those things, but I think you really came to your own. Certainly with the Renegade Wrestling Alliance, you're on top, had the title there, and really. I've seen a couple of times people go from some of the other groups around here to the RWA and really kind of flourish. Jason Gorey comes to mind with that. He's the first time I saw him in there, it was just like, oh, this is different, and this is really interesting. And of course, again, seeing you pop up, like, oh, I remember him. He's always, beating people up in IWC, and really just kind of on a new level. I think when I first came in filming for RWA, you might have been starting to really kind of tear things apart in there. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Of course. Yeah, I credit them for really being the first place to kind of let me be me. Same with Pro Wrestling Express too. Down there in my key sport, they really kind of just took the chains off me and said, "Hey, go be you." And that's something that I've been trying to convey to promoters up that way. Because, when I first started, and I'm sure there's still, some of this going on, things were just very cliquey. And coming from an athletic background like I had, it was a very difficult transition into pro wrestling mentally for me, because, coming from, the wrestling mat or football field, if I work harder than you and I'm better than you, I should be ahead of you. So that's the mindset that I had going in. And of course, professional wrestling is different. So it was the first time in my life that my success was determined by someone else's opinion. So that to me was very difficult. And for a while, the only thing that people saw me as was, just an enforcer guy or just an extra guy that, other guys brought along. And so I think while it allowed me to be at those places and do some cool stuff, it hindered me because people didn't want to put me outside of that box. And it wasn't until I went to RWA and Feel Bad was like, hey, man, we're just going to let you kind of do what you want and be you, and the rest is up to you. So, and that's something that I pride myself in. I always tell people, you give me one opportunity to be me. If I can't get it done, that's on me. But anytime that any promotion has gone out there and let Shane Taylor be Shane Taylor, I've been successful. Same with Luke Hawks and Wildcat Sports. I'm the first African-American champion in Wildcat Sports, the first two-time champion in Wildcat Sports. And it's all because it's a place that allows me to be myself. Whether people gravitate towards me as a good guy or they hate my guts, the bad guy, it kind of depends on the area. But Shane Taylor, just being allowed to be Shane Taylor, is what's made me successful.
That's amazing. And is this, you say you just kind of hit the ceiling here, and of course Ray Rowe obviously was probably prodding you along. I mean, he's a guy again from the Cleveland area, another guy that came through here with the International Wrestling Cartel, and again, it seems like he's completely flourishing, and obviously going on to Ring of Honor and doing some great stuff there as well. What was kind of the final thing?
One half of the tag team champions right now.
Exactly. What was the last thing? What was kind of the thing that put you over the I got to make the move to Texas? This has to happen.
There was no real tipping point. It was just, to me, I'm a person that's very goal oriented. I'm very driven, and if I feel like I'm not progressing, then I feel like I have to change something. And where I was at, I was just while I was doing a lot of shows and having a lot of fun, it was the same guys, same shows, and I really felt that I wasn't improving as much as I wanted to, and I felt like my ceiling was lower there than it is here. You come down here, it's all new guys, all new challenges, all new promotions. So it really pushed me to try to reinvent myself and change just about everything. So that presented a very interesting challenge that I welcome, because my mind doesn't allow me to really be stagnant. So I crave things like that.
That's awesome. And we're showing a little bit of footage of you and Wildcat with the belt, with Ray Rowe here on the feed. Definitely go check that out on their YouTube channel as well. So from there, so what's, you're hitting up a lot of different promotions. I know you popped up in Inspire Pro Wrestling with our friend from the show, Eamon is part of. Can you talk about some of the groups down there? Because it really seems like the Texas scene has kind of, at least perceptually, as we've seen from Eamon's eyes over the years, really kind of exploded over the last few years with great talent, great shows, and a lot of interesting stuff. Can you speak a little bit to that? And what do you see happening there? What's the vibe down there in comparison to something like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, a greater area?
I mean, it's really crazy to compare them because they're so different. But Texas has been doing great stuff for years. The problem with Texas is that it's so big that it's kind of like a world unto itself. Like, it's like its own little wrestling world, and then everything else is outside of Texas. Like, for example, it was a funny story that I heard when Ray first did the ROH, his first ROH thing in San Antonio. He had been wrestling down here for years. He got there and people thought he had quit wrestling. Like, no one had ever heard, no one heard that he was even wrestling down here, but you have such great talent down here. You have guys like my partner, Keithley. Shout out to Keithley, one half of the Pretty Boy Killers. You have, all the guys at Pro Wrestling Texas, like Ray Rowe and Houston Carson and Mike Dell and Ricky Starks and all these great guys. The NWA World Heavyweight Champion Jack Dane, all the way to, Booker T's place down here, Reality of Wrestling, with the Heavenly Bodies, also from Global Force Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Syndicate in Jersey. Ryan Davison and Mysterious Q, and just so many great talents down here. And then you compare that, the Texas scene can really be compared with any area throughout the country. Whether that be the Northeast, whether that be Cali with all their guys. The talent in Texas is on par with all of them.
That's awesome. And we're also looking at a little bit here, some great names going on down there. It's great to hear what's happening in that area. But you also, like Ray Rowe, seem to be following that same line, and now you're showing up in Future of Honor matches for Ring of Honor as well with your partner Keithley.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's been a long road, and I've got to see just how Ray's taken his road from being on top of the world to being in this motorcycle accident, and watching him kind of rise from the ashes like he did with that to achieving just one of the many goals that he has, and I've gotten to see him go to England and Germany and Japan, and there's all this amazing things that I get to watch one of my best friends do. And he's been so influential for me in my career. I think it was just a natural progression to kind of follow his lead and really take some of the same steps to try to reach the same successes that he has. And I've been very, very blessed to work for Ring of Honor for a few shows now, and doing the Future of Honor match was big. It got a great response from all of our fans, from the Ring of Honor fans to all the fans from across the country that I've gotten to perform in front of, and being on that stage is just it's beyond words for me right now, because there's so much work that's been put into it, and so much work that still has to be put into it to stay on the same level, if not try to surpass, guys like Red Dragon, or the Briscoes, or Daniels and Kazarian, or Rhett Titus and Kenny King. Just so many guys there. Of course, the world champ, Jay Lethal. Just name after name of guys that are just on top of this business. And so to be in the same locker room as them, and to see them, hopefully, as peers, is a very humbling experience. And but again, I look forward to that challenge, and I look forward to bigger and better things, and trying to make sure that everybody around the world knows that my name belongs with their names as well.
That's awesome. We've had Keithley on here 2 times on the show, and what's it like working with him? He seems like a very entertaining guy in the ring. Moves like crazy for looks like for a guy his size. Much like you. How did that pairing happen, and what's it like working with him?
The pairing happened. We were at a show here in Houston. It was Lone Star Championship Wrestling, and we had a match with Jack Stane and Ray Rowe, and it was just an instant chemistry there, and we kind of just felt like, what, like we're both doing cool stuff by ourselves, but if we tagged up and made a team out of this, we could really do some great things. So that's where the idea first started, and then. But we didn't really do anything with it. And then we went to one of those Ring of Honor shows, and Keith and I both like to, dress well and be seen. So people saw that, and then seeing us together was like, oh wow, we really like that, So then we really started to talk, because that was what was all on their mind. So we said, hey, if this is going to be if this is going to be our way in, then let's do it, and let's do it to the max. So we have been, and we've been kind of hot ever since, and Keith's a funny dude, man. He's a big nerd, he's a big anime guy. It's not really, what I do. You know what I mean? Because I'm just a kid from Cleveland, so you give me sports or a good boxing match, and I'm straight. But the guy in the ring is absolutely phenomenal. He's a monster. He's one of the strongest guys I've ever been in the ring with. One of the strongest guys that I've ever worked out with. And to have his agility and speed and to do the things that he can do in the ring is mind blowing. I just saw him wrestle Ray Rowe for VIP just a few days ago in Arlington, and Ray gave him a monkey flip, and the guy landed on his feet. Like you know what I mean? Like you couldn't ask guys 180 to do that, and here he is at 330, making it look easy. So Keith is a special athlete and a very special talent.
I think that's the one that I was tweeting last night from his feed. It's featured actually in our Around the Indies over at indywrestling.us, and there's like kind of the still by still, I guess, of the action. It's incredible.
Oh yeah,
definitely go check that out as well. That's awesome. It's great to hear that you're doing great stuff down in Texas. See that you're moving along, coming up. I can't wait to see you on my TV every week. Speaking of TV, what are you watching these days? What are you watching either for entertainment, to watch, to keep up on what's happening in the world of wrestling? Like, what's kind of got your attention right now?
Oh, well, right now, of course, it's a lot of Ring of Honor, on Comet and all your local Sinclair stations. Check your local listings. Big into New Japan too on Axis and all that stuff.
Nice.
Other than that, man, with my daughter and everything, man, she kind of takes up the priority of my time, and deservedly so. So just watching Netflix with her, and lots of King Julian and other stuff like that. But if I do watch wrestling, it's usually Ring of Honor or New Japan.
Is she into the wrestling yet?
She is. She actually
Nice.
does. She actually does the too sweet hand sign. So she's been watching it with me. So every time I see her, I'll come in, I'll give her a big hug and a kiss, a high five, and a too sweet, and then we're off doing our thing.
That's awesome. Other thing we like to ask here is, and you can take this any direction you want to, as far as you want. What's the best and the worst thing about working in indie wrestling up to this point?
Oh, wow. The best thing about indie wrestling is getting to really control your schedule, and, kind of make your own rules about how you want to be perceived. The ability to interact with our fans on a very intimate level is truly great too, because they see you and you see them. It's not just, they're not just a number, like you get to see before and after the show just how much people enjoy what you do, and the kind of power that you can have over people in a very positive way. I've had fans come up to me and, tell me that, I inspired them to start, lifting or running or doing something that tries to better their lives. And for me, just being, a kid from Cleveland who wasn't supposed to do anything, to me, that's crazy. It's something that I cherish, and it's something that I take very seriously, because I want to be, someone that people can relate to, and someone that people can find inspiration from. And as far as the negative things about indie wrestling, I don't know, man. Just sometimes it's just the way things are run, and just the attitudes and cliques and egos that are behind, some wrestling, which is, it's good to have an ego. I think that, sometimes that gets run around like it's a bad thing, but everybody should feel like they're the best or trying to be the best. If not, then there's no point in doing this. Like, no one just says, hey, I just want to be some guy on a show. You want to be the best. You want to make the most money. You want to be on the most shows. You want to do all of that. So, but some guys do get carried away. So I think when you're trying to work with those guys, that presents a problem, and those are some of the negatives that come with, you know, being on the Indies and doing that. But overall, it's the best job in the world. I get paid to talk trash and punch people in the face, so I can't really complain.
That's amazing. What's coming up for you? What should people look out for, either on TV maybe or in the Indies in Texas, online, wherever people can find you? Let them know.
Of course. Social media platforms also are at Shane216Taylor on Twitter and Instagram. If you live in Texas or the surrounding states, you can always catch me on Booker T's Reality of Wrestling on my CW39 here in Houston, Sundays at 11 a.m. Always check out, you know, the Wildcat Sports, Wildcat with a K, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Two-time heavyweight champion there. March 12th is their next show in New Orleans. Myself versus Stevie Richards and Mike Dell. And also, I'm trying to think now. There's so many shows on my schedule. I'm trying not to forget anybody. This weekend, Friday night, the 19th, NWA Revolution in McAllen, Texas, and then February 20th, the big 6-man tag at Pinball's Kingdom in Buda, Texas, for Pro Wrestling Texas. Myself and Keithley with Ryan Mantell versus War Machine, the Ring of Honor Tag Champions War Machine, and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Jax Dane. So if you can get to any of those shows, you should, and you are going to have a great time, I promise you.
Awesome. Shane, it's great to connect with you again. Great to touch base. It's awesome to see everything going great down there in Texas. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to check out some of his back catalog, we got a lot of it over at indywrestling.us. Just look up Shane Taylor. And of course, you'll pop up a lot on our Around the Indies articles as well, doing all the stuff you're doing down there. But there's a lot of back catalog with RWA, IWC as well. Thank you so much. Go check them out. Hey, we're going to take a peek back at some more from our 10-year party at Looking for Group here in the Pittsburgh area. And we'll be right back talking about more indie wrestling.
Just wait for the perfect time, then attack. Don't give up what you want, take it back. Wait for the perfect.
Yeah, how did it affect my life? Well, as a young boy, I always watched the internet. Well, I had dial-up, but I watched some of the internet, and I just thought I would love to be on the internet right now. Like me, my person on the screen of the interwebs. And it changed my life because finally I was put on the interwebs by this.
Indy Mayhem Show, such a great conversation there with Shane Taylor. Go check him out, Shane216Taylor on the Twitters. And check out shows coming up no matter when you're listening to this. So, Eamon has been eaten by the indie wrestling shark. That's what I'm going with right now. He's not available for us here on the Indy Mayhem Show. So we have two people to replace him this week to talk about some indie wrestling for the latter half of the show. First of all, here locally, also from the Pittsburgh area, and the guy that knows more about IWC wrestling than I do, it is the Rizz. Rizz plays games on the Twitter and the YouTube.
Hi, Sorg. Thank you for having me again.
Hi, welcome back. Also with us, the sirens sound like they're going over there, so look out for him. Antonio Garza representing the WrestlingRevolution.com, the W Revolution on the Twitter. What is happening over there?
I don't know. I live downtown, so there's always sirens.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Coming at us from El Paso, Texas, where there are sirens going on. And of course, our resident expert in Mexican wrestling had a great special with us. If you check out the feed over WrestlingMayhemShow.com, there's a Mexican wrestling special. Eamon and Garza here actually educated me on what's going on south of the border and how you can kind of get involved with it. I'm paying attention, at least on the Instagram, so that's been kind of fun for me. So I know there's some news coming up, Garza, that you're looking at. What's going on in indie wrestling that you've kind of got your finger on?
Okay, so the two shows that I'm looking forward now are Ring of Honors. Or they're taking their show to New Japan to Japan with New Japan Pro Wrestling Honor Rising. I have a full card here. It's gonna be 2 nights. The first night, we have Dalton Castle doing his Japanese debut for New Japan, teaming up with Ryusuke Taguchi versus Jushin Thunder Liger and Matt Sydal. We have a battle of the Bookers between Delirious and Ghetto. We have Frankie Kazarian from TNA, you probably know, versus Kushida. Another big match we have is Ring of Honor's World Television Championship being defended. Roderick Strong takes on Tomohiro Ishii. And if you know Tomohiro Ishii, you know this match is going to give the fans a concussion. Because these guys are hard hitting. Like, it scares me sometimes. For the second night, the big matches that we have is Kushida and Moose taking on Tetsuya Naito and Bushi from Los Ingobernables de Japón. We have the team of Toru Giano and the Briscoe brothers, the weirdest team in history, I think, defending their never open weight 6-man championship against Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, aka the Elite. And the main event of this second night is going to be Jay Lethal defending his Ring of Honor World title versus one half of the IWGP Tag Champions, Tomoaki Honma. The show seems solid. I think there's going to be good wrestling all over. I don't know if you've been following Ring of Honor lately or in Japan, but both companies are I think they have like pretty good wrestling. So it's going to be interesting to see all these combinations.
Yeah, it's nice to see, like, again, this kind of combination. You know, we've had a lot of Japanese stuff of them visiting here in America, but is this on pay-per-view, iPay-per-view? What's are we able to check this out live, or is this something that we're going to get on the on-demand if we're a member?
It will be live in the New Japan World,
good.
their Japanese version of the WWE Network.
Okay.
They will have it later on for on demand, also on the New Japan Pro Wrestling World.
This feels like because I mean I feel like we're getting back to just the best wrestling, you know, more than anything, which I felt like that's what Ring of Honor was back in the day, whereas it was bringing together all these kind of sparse indie guys and having kind of the pinnacle of wrestling happen. And like I'm even looking at their 14th anniversary poster over here, and you know, again we have a triple threat match with Truth Martini, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, but who's the Japanese guy that's on this poster? Kashinda. Okada's on here as well. I mean, they're just really just bringing everything in and really mixing that. And since it's something that's the hot thing, so everybody's saying, "Oh, what's happening over in Japan?" And Ring of Honor having this relationship, I think, is really a really good thing. Really cool to see. And it's like, again, kind of that I want to see this kind of wrestling. And and I think New Japan and ROH really lend themselves to each other's style for sure. So I think it's great to see. Rizz, I don't know if you're digging too much into the Japanese or Ring of Honor stuff, but what do you think about this coming up?
I'm not really, like you said, I'm not really into the in the New Japan stuff, even though I have hinted at multiple times that I was going to shell out the 9.99 yen and get New Japan World. But I love these crossovers they're doing. I love the connection that ROH has with New Japan. I just love seeing two different styles of wrestling, like America and Japan collide all the time. Jushin Thunder Liger is always a sight to see whenever he's in sight. And it's just, I love them every time I see them. They do something new and entertaining, and this has all the makings of another one of these.
Awesome. So go check that out, rohwrestling.com. Hey, if nothing else, like even if you don't have it in your area, Ring of Honor has the episodes on every week on their website. They go up Thursdays, and I think you have to sign up for the free membership, but otherwise they're completely accessible to everybody, and they're not really timely, to be honest. So I mean, it's wrestling. It's not even going to really kind of reflect even the pay-per-view for that weekend or anything like that. It's a weirdly kind of on its own sort of thing. So you can just check that out to check out Ring of Honor, and kind of, if you like it, go the further case and pick up their on-demand service, or check out one of their iPay-per-views or New Japan World if you're really into it. I think it's a really cool option. So, and also Pro Wrestling Guerilla. Now, Pro Wrestling Guerilla, I've been hearing so much about, even more so. Of course, it's been talked about for a while on this show. But I've been listening to, of course, We Watch Wrestling, a really awesome podcast out west, and I hear nothing but Pro Wrestling Guerilla on that show. It's WWE and PWG. Nothing else exists.
Yeah, if you're on the West Coast, PWG is definitely the place to be. I live in Texas, and I've flown over to California just for this shows every year. And I'm actually considering going to the next shows.
And you're not the only one that you're not the only one that's gone to
sold
Texas
out already.
Wow.
Yeah, probably. Well, they haven't sold out the tickets. It's very for the next show. It's in February 18th. I shouldn't be saying this because people are gonna hear it and then they're gonna go buy tickets, and I'm gonna have to fight for tickets. But yeah, they just announced the cards for the All-Star Weekend number 12. It's going to be on March 4th and 5th. Just a quick rundown of the cards. We have Trevor Lee, the current TNA X Division champion, versus Chuck Taylor, Chucky T. We have Chris Hero versus Marty Scurll. Marty Scurll is one of those guys that are just popping from the UK, and they're just making so much noise. We have Drew Galloway versus Trent, a battle of the Fire guys. We have Tommy End from the UK versus Kyle O'Reilly. We have Adam Cole versus Zack Sabre Jr., and that just sounds amazing.
Yes.
We have Roderick Strong defending the PWG World Title versus Mark Andrews. And we have the Young Bucks versus Ricochet and Matt Sydal for the titles. If you've seen the Bucks, and if you've seen Ricochet, a.k.a. Prince Puma, or Matt Sydal, you know this match is just going to be off the charts. That's only night one. Here comes night two. We have Marty Scurll versus Chuck Taylor. You're going to see the same name pretty much. You have Mark Andrews versus Evil Uno, formerly player Uno from the Super Smash Brothers. We have Drew Galloway versus Trevor Lee. We have Ricochet and Matt Sydal versus Tommy End and Chris Hero. We have Adam Cole versus Trent. The Young Bucks versus Redragon. And again, if you've seen these guys fight in Ring of Honor or New Japan, you know they're just amazing. And our final matches for the PWG World Title is Roderick Strong versus Zack Sabre Jr. And I've seen those guys fight twice already. This is going to be the third one, and it's going to be amazing.
Why can't we have that stuff over here, Sorg?
I don't know, that whole West Coast thing. Well, it's easier to get Japanese people, I think, Japanese, the New Japan people on the West Coast, I'm sure, geographically, if they're going to fly anywhere. It's man, I cannot figure out. It's they're not making it on the ticket sales unless they're not charging like a ridiculous amount for this, right? I mean, this is still like maybe what, $20 tickets or something.
No.
Oh geez, never mind. Okay, wait. Okay, so I just figured out their model. I did not realize this is what was happening. So you look at these videos, and you're like, I can't figure this out. I'm looking at this. It's such a small venue. There's a couple hundred people in there, right? But then
it's 500 approximately.
It's 500.
They sell alcohol there.
They sell alcohol, and plus the tickets range from $55 for standing room only to $70.
Yes.
Holy crap! No wonder they're doing so well.
And I can assure you, those tickets sell out within minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And their DVDs, they have so many great people on there. Like I'm looking at that night one, just like scanning that thing and what you just talked about, and I'm like, that's an all-star show. That's like the best of the best. This is what Ring of Honor was 10, 15 years ago. Well, I guess they just had their 14th anniversary coming up, but yeah, like 10 years ago, this is what Ring of Honor looked like. You're like, all those guys I hear about in all these places in Pittsburgh and Chicago and New York, and here all of them are in Ring of Honor. PWG, I think, is very clearly the next Ring of Honor on that level, and it's just absolutely insane. They got such a great thing going there. It's a who's. And how long have they been around?
Well, this is the number 12 All-Star Weekend, so I think it's actually it's going to be 13 years this year. They started pretty similar to Ring of Honor and all those other companies. They have found themselves like a niche audience, and they just make it work. They have no need to go into bigger buildings because they know they can sell out within minutes at like $55 tickets. This is the company where Regal found Kevin Steen. He found pretty much everyone that they signed with Kevin Steen. So I mean, they're bringing those guys in. You constantly see like Dave Meltzer, Ronda Rousey, Sofia Vergara like coming to these shows because it's the thing, the place to be.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Go check it out, ProWrestlingGuerilla.com, and it just is completely mind blowing. And just even I'm looking through some of their DVD history, and it's just again 10 years ago. It's all those names that you expect, the M Dogs and Christopher Daniels and everything in 2003 when they started. So it's crazy. Go check it out, ProWrestlingGuerilla.com. So around the Indies, a lot of great stuff, a lot of great visual stuff going on, as usual, by the great Matt Carlins. As usual, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Dalton Castle made his debut recently for them at the Bowie event. Also involved Roderick Strong defending against Drew Galloway, and Chuck Taylor, of course, against Dalton Castle. I see he gets to keep his name there. Some great stuff. Drake Wirtz. Wait, that's the NXT referee Drake, actually.
Yeah.
So awesome. See him coming back to Combat Zone Wrestling at their 17 event this past week. He was inducted in the CZW Hall of Fame. That's cool. Women's Superstar Uncensored, a sister promotion to CZW, also had a show, including Leva Bates, Blue Pants, defending the Spirit title against Hania the Howling Huntress. That's amazing. Absolute Intense Wrestling, Snow, Cleveland, go figure. Sorry, John Thorne, friend of the show. But I see, so they, of course, they had a lot of cancellations. Show still went on because they're Cleveland and they don't give a fuck. And there was a striptease that happened with Dick Justice and Missy Hyatt, with Tracy Smothers and Jock Sampson in tow. That's a DVD that will probably not be for the kids. A lot of other great stuff in there, including, hey, there it is, some Super Monkey action. Jake Clemens also in that one as well, doing the flip. So go check that out. A lot of visual stuff. Thank you, Matt Carlin, for checking that out. RJ City, Ray Len, Future and Past. Oh, this flip I got to show you guys on the video. Ray Rowe tweeted this. This is a sequence where he monkey flipped Keith Lee, who we just had on here a couple weeks ago, and he lands on his feet. Keith Lee is like 310, 320 pounds, and he just flipped and landed on his feet. Absolutely ridiculous. And we discussed that, of course, earlier tonight on with our interview. Abyss made a return to the area with Vicious Outcast Wrestling. Burt LeGrant talked to him, of course, and he's promising to come back as well. And goes also Gory against friends of the show, Andrew Palace and Jimmy Nuts in a triple threat match. Sure to be a classic. Look for that on digital download indywrestling.us or Smart Mark Video very, very soon. Actually just got in today some inside info. The Sign of Respect show that we attended a month ago in January is actually going to be going online. Just got that in, again, that processed and hopefully up here by the end of the week. So keep an eye out for that as well. That seems like all the indie news that's fit to discuss. Anything you guys want to bring up before we get out of here? cover it?
Not really.
Rizz is looking forward, of course, to IWC's 15th anniversary and Super Indy coming up.
I am very excited for 15, I believe it's called, right?
15, the 15th anniversary of IWC coming up here in March. Colt Cabana.
Colt Cabana is going to be amazing. Because I believe he was scheduled to come to. No, did he come to the 10th anniversary? Or I want to say he did come to the 10th. He didn't come to the 10th anniversary because he was Scotty Goldman back then. But he did send in a video package with I think that was him. Yeah, he did send a video package for the 10th anniversary, and I was kind of bummed he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But I get to see him again, hopefully at IWC 15, if the snow, holds up.
Hopefully by March 12th we're done with that
March,
stuff.
Yeah. And Dave Christ, right?
Yep.
Dave Christ, formerly of Irish Airborne, is coming back to IWC, which is weird to see him in singles action.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have lost touch with what he was doing, and then seeing him like in the whole like hooded and
he's been
brother next to him.
And I believe he's been part of the Ohio's for Killers, who came through the area, breezed through the area briefly for a couple months with the Renegade Wrestling Alliance too. Mm-hmm. And of course, I think they were also in some fashion part of the DBI in Marietta that we had a part in some of the early video production for. No, and I think Matt Carlin said that he's also was part of this like hour and some minute match that they did, and not the charity one that Hero did, but I think another one. And of course Jason Gory returning. He's an original. He's been doing some fantastic stuff outside of IWC. And Pedro DeLuca, one night only. He retired from wrestling. You knew he wasn't going to be gone for long.
Case.
If you don't go to IWC, you have no idea what the hell we're talking about right now. But Joe Dabrowski is excited, I'm sure. So, but
I just pulled up for people in Ohio the newest card for Fullest House in March. Little Guido is going to be in it.
Nice.
Against I believe former competitor in Super Indy, All Ego Ethan Page.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Let me see what else. There were other matches, but it's not loading for me for some reason. I just know that match was on there, and I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, it's not loading for me. And the return of Rockstar Spud and Homicide.
Nice.
So that card is going to be stacked whenever it pulls up for me.
Tell me it's Spud versus Homicide.
Oh God, I hope
Please do it.
Oh, great stuff. So much great stuff happening out there in indie wrestling world. Thank you so much for dropping in here at the last minute. Antonio Garza, the WrestlingRevolution.com, and also a regular contributor to the Midweek War here at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
And also the Rizz plays games on Twitter and the YouTube channel as well. Go check it out. A lot of wrestling WWE 16 action happening on there. Go check that out as well.
Thank you, Sorg.
And of course, throw out a shout out since he wasn't here for it himself. Inspire Pro Wrestling.
Don't throw a shout out for
.com. Eamon. Okay, Eamon's dead to us this week. Sorry. He'll be back next week. We got a lot of great stuff scheduled in the coming weeks. We're scheduled to talk to Jimmy Corderas, the former WWE ref, and of course I worked with him a couple years ago on the Refereeing 101 DVD that we did over at IndieWrestling.us. And Reagan Lynn, we talked to Dylan Bostic last year. She's also making waves in women's wrestling with the IWC with Britt Baker that we talked to on the show, and so much more. And who knows who's going to pop up here in the coming weeks and months on the Indy Mayhem Show. You never know. Stay tuned. WrestlingMayhemShow.com. Until next time, support indie wrestling.
For the taste of the pie. Sick, you know how I act now. If you got a problem, come and see if I'm a back down. Act wild, steady sipping Jack now.
Show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.